and welcome back to Star Wars Minute. It's the daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
I'm Alex Robinson from AlexRobinson.fun.
And I'm Crystal Beth from TheCrystalBeth.com.
Welcome back.
Thanks for
Crystal,
having me.
You spruced up your website in between yesterday and today.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Thanks for getting on that. That was a long-standing memo. Welcome back. We have, of course, we're going to start off with the cliffhanger because this minute starts with Janet telling us what they wouldn't do. And it ends with Finn spying Rey catching some waves en route to the Death Star. And so we're going to start out with the conclusion of her match game segment because remember at the end of last minute, Janet said they wanted us to F something. What did they want them to do?
They told.
What did they tell them to do?
It was so bad they told us to. That's what I had down. They told us.
Right.
Yeah.
They told us to what?
Crystal, you want to go first?
Sure. I think that she's going to say, fight a Gundark.
I went in total different direction. I said they told them to go frick ourselves.
Oh.
A little bit of a frick.
They wouldn't do that. And I figured, it's the horrors of war. So they told them to find the Colonel, infiltrate his team by whatever means available, and terminate the Colonel's command.
That's amazing.
I
wrote mine down, too.
Terminate with extreme prejudice.
All right.
Nice,
I forgot to hold up
officially
my notes.
we all wrote our things down.
So yes, the Finn's conversation with Janet continues here. We hear the conversation takes an interesting turn because they're having this moment where like, wait a minute, you did this too? Your life is like my life in this way, and they're bonding over this, and then Finn's like, yeah, it was the Force, and you can see her be like, oh, okay, you believe in the Force. Okay. like I trying to remember specific instances, but I feel like we've all been in a kind of conversation where it's just like, oh, you're meet somebody, you're getting along, you're bonding, and then all of a sudden the conversation takes a turn and you're like, oh, this is different than what I thought a second ago. Hang on, let me back it up.
Oh, you think
you
the
believe
world's
crazy
flat?
things.
Right. Yeah, just like throwing out whether it was, not that it's, I think he would liken it to believing that somebody finds out in the Force, not so much in the thing. But I remember the conversation when we first met our friend Father David. We were talking for like a day or two. It was on the cruise that we did, the Fan2C cruise. We were doing a live show. And we met Father David and we're talking to him for a day or two. And then over dinner one night, we're like, so what do you do? And he's like, oh, I'm a Catholic priest. And we're like, okay, changed. This is fascinating. Tell me more. Like, I wasn't expecting that. He is. He's a terrific guy.
I haven't talked to him in a minute. It's time.
Should we get him on?
In a Star Wars minute.
Star Wars minute.
Right. But yes, there's just dropping that little thing that kind of changes the conversation, and you can see it kind of a little bit in her eyes. She's like, oh, the Force, okay. The Force brought you here?
She starts slowly backing away.
Right.
Oh, I think the groomer guy's calling me. I gotta go.
My horse is ready. I gotta...
I wish her origin wasn't exactly the same as Finn's origin in terms of like they were told to do something like to execute, civilians or whatever, and it like couldn't like she'd be a prison guard or some other slightly different, Kylo Ren's personal trainer or something where it's like not just exactly the same.
Yeah, there's so many
like
jobs.
you said before, they were mirroring each other. Now it's really getting extreme. Now they're really like, yeah, I also became friends with Poe. That's crazy.
Wait, you know Poe?
She's gradually taking over his identity.
Right.
Okay.
I think I said last week
I wish it was
that,
slightly
the other
different
ones are going to pop up and be like Eagle River because they all get to the same place.
Because it makes it less special if there's a lot of people revolting. Come on,
right.
Captain Phasma, what was going on here? What kind of training were you doing here that all these people were running away? This would be the perfect excuse to bring back Captain Phasma, to have them hang out on this planet, and all of a sudden Captain Phasma's like, TZ-74,
yes.
Not even knowing Finn was there. She was totally just there for the other people. And then she caught Finn as a bonus,
Oh, for a second, I thought you were suggesting that she would be there like with them. She would be, that would be a good twist for Phasma, that she escaped and defected, and they're like, oh, wait, PH 238 is coming back with our horses or whatever. And then all of a sudden she comes back and we're like,
She would totally have just a regular, like
right. She would have the regular Earth name. She would be like
Penny.
Stephanie or something. Yeah, Penny. There you go. And so that
man,
would be a twist. And then, then because Finn and her have a history, so they would have like a moment.
It's really crazy that in all of Star Wars, have we ever had a character who was like a diehard true believer who then, Hux kind of was a spy, but someone who defects, someone who was like, I was an Imperial. I guess technically like Han Solo was, but he was never like motivated by ideology the way other people are.
In Rebels.
Well, don't spoil Rebels for us.
No, I won't. I won't say anything.
All right.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure the animated things have explored it more frequently, but it seems like such a good, like right there hanging in front of you kind of story to do.
Yeah. Well,
maybe that's why they didn't.
Yeah.
Going the other way too.
I love Rebels.
Someone who sells Benedict Arnold, who sells out the Rebels. I guess is DJ. He's not like that either.
No, because he's not on their side.
Yeah.
He's not taking a side. He's not joining.
Yeah.
Anywho,
the Force.
Yeah, the Force.
Did Rey? Where is he getting this from? This Force that the Force brought us here and brought me to you. And does Rey tell him this stuff? Like, oh yes, Finn, the Force brought you to me. You were destined to find me. Like, what's going on here?
I feel like he wants to find a connection to something, and he sees Rey doing this stuff, and he knows there's something different about him, and he is kind of just connecting to it as much as he can, and I think that he needs a thing.
So he's just like speaking from the heart. Like this is what so this is not something specifically that Rey.
I don't
sure
think
they talk
so.
about destiny and stuff, but
no, I think it's more like he's all about the Force because he's a recent convert.
Yeah.
And if you asked him, like years from now, if you're like, hey, remember like when he meets, sees Jana at a party or something like that. Like, do you remember when I met you? You were just like, you wouldn't stop talking about the Force. He's like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing. I can't believe it. But I'm not saying he doesn't believe in it, but he just would be like, he's all about it because all of a sudden that's this thing that he has. You know what I mean? He's believing, he's putting all of his eggs in that basket.
Yeah.
Like many of us, if you get all about something when you discover it.
Yeah.
I think
Star Wars.
It would have been a fun story to have they have never heard of the Force, the former stormtroopers, because how would they, unless they, but Finn starts telling them and then basically becomes the religious leader of this obscure Force cult of ex-stormtroopers who are now following his, it was your destiny to come to me, to find me,
I love it. And he's like paraphrasing because he's trying to remember. He's like, the Force is what gives the Jedi their power. It's an energy beam. I think
what was the thing that Han Solo
soaking
says?
in it, and
what was the thing that Han Solo said? That's not the way the Force works. What was Finn saying at that time? What was Finn? What was Finn? What was his theory
we could
as to
use
how
the Force
to like open a door?
Oh, it was
or something?
to Oh my gosh, it was.
We all know the line.
We could infiltrate. I think it was when they were getting ready to infiltrate. They're like, we can just get in.
Starkiller Base. They're on there.
We could just get in. It was something.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "That's not how the Force works."
And your Force knowledge is bad when Han Solo is the one correcting you as to how the Force works.
Right.
Not exactly a expert.
Man, I need to watch The Force Awakens again.
Hmm.
I think that he's Force sensitive, and the Force is kind of pulling him to think that things aren't just a coincidence.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's not accurate. I think he's a little bit. He's definitely feeling something with the Force, and it definitely is. I think then because he's kind of following on a path that makes sense to him, then he's seeing all the things, and it's like, it's like if you have a lucky time on the clock or something like that, and you see it, and you're like, like it's all like or if you have like something will come up and then it'll just kind of keep coming up. All of a sudden you'll notice it, but it was there all
like
along.
A lucky number,
right?
Yeah, like a lucky number. You'll just kind of see it everywhere and be like, oh, I must be on the right track here. Must be on the right path.
Yeah.
But it's just always there everywhere. But you're
Right.
attuned to it, and it helps. So I think the Force is everywhere, and the Force is he's able to get in touch with it. But I think he's also reading a lot into it.
Yeah, I think he's reading a lot into it as well.
It would also be interesting if Finn does explore his Forcehood, but it's like a Rogue One guy, the blind guy. He follows like a different. He doesn't become a Jedi. He becomes like one of those other,
so
varieties.
cool. I would love that. I don't think that they explored this enough. I think that they spent a lot of time in this movie like beating around what he's trying to say, as opposed to like just saying it and then having something actually become of it at the end. Ooh, man, that would have just given me all the goosebumps. Not that I didn't have them already, but I would have had more.
And he doesn't, we never find out in the movie what he's referring to, right?
Nope.
This never confirmed in the actual text of the film.
Right. But
so it could be anything.
Yeah.
They could still put anything in there. He could be like, I'm
That's
a
true.
shapeshifter, or 1,000 different other.
That would actually be pretty cool too.
The
I'm
real
a Zam
Finn died
Wesell.
on Crate.
I'm one of 85 clones of Finn who have. Anyway.
Well, speaking of Finn and things that he's into and things that he's obsessed with, it's almost cliche that he's been, one of the criticisms of his activity in these films is he spends a lot of time running around shouting other characters' names, particularly Rey. He's always just like, "Where's Rey? What's up with Rey? What?" And here,
Rey-centric.
It's almost like, so if I were all of a sudden looking for connections and thinking, oh, the Force was influencing my decisions here. He's super obsessed with Rey, and as soon as he talks to another girl, all of a sudden BB-8 comes over. He's like, "Hey, where's Rey?" And it's like she's out, like doing something dangerous, and he would be like, "Oh no, like I let my guard down. I was supposed to be keeping track of Rey, and where's Rey?"
But you think then he'd be like, "Oh, if Rey went off, well, that's the will of the Force. Like the Force clearly is pulling her in a different direction." But he doesn't seem as trusting in the Force when it comes to
No.
It's
stuff
when
that he's like.
It's still
when
new.
it's the stuff that he likes. He likes it.
Yeah. And he's still like learning how to do it. He's obsessed with it, but it's still this is just one person that I know that I really like, that she keeps going and doing stuff that's going to get her in trouble. And I have to, there's like a protection thing, is what my guess would be. I feel that way about my friends.
And I think
stuff.
there's also, it's human nature to kind of, that's how a lot of religious people that can be a common thing where you're like, oh, we're thanking God for these rewards. But when the flood comes, it's not like, oh, why did God, it's, you tend to thank God for the positive stuff and just forget that in theory, he's also causing the negative stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So anyway, is that too, if that's too hot for TV, you can take that out.
Alex Robinson says. No. No, I agree, and I think that's what he's, especially when somebody's new to it and they're just like, oh, look, they're looking for connecting the dots, and like, yes, that's the Force, but then it's like if it takes more, kind of faith on their part, they might not be ready for that yet, because it's like there's a difference between looking back and being like, yeah, look, I was meant to be here because of the Force, and being like, oh, well, she's out on, like riding on, 50-foot waves, but she'll be okay because of the Force. The Force brought
That's
her
advanced. Here. That's like Yoda level. Acceptance.
Yeah, it's hard to be
Force.
chill about that, regardless of your connection.
Yeah. Well, we end with a cool shot of Finn looking. Well, the shot is okay, but there's of Finn looking through cool binoculars, binoculars.
I want a pair of
cool
those.
Looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Muff Tack would like those. Because he's got two sets of eyes, one on top of the other.
Well, he would have 8, right? Right, because he'd have 2 sets of them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They call him 8 eyes.
Yeah.
Then he got glasses and they called him 16 eyes.
But then it turns out 16 Eyes was another guy on another job, so different alien altogether.
It's that burger chain.
Yeah, I don't. It is a cool thing. Do you think he brought them out there? Were those fresh from the Falcon?
It could be.
Probably, right? Because they were going out to look off that precipice.
Right. I imagine they're on the Falcon.
Or they could have been part of the stormtroopers gang's crew.
Right. But I'm
I
trying to
picture them
remember
under
if you
the
had
seat,
them.
just like
Yeah.
something that you forget that's in your car, like a road atlas or something. They're just like hanging out there, and they've been there
Right.
They had
forever.
cut out like a 3-minute scene of them being like, "Give me the binoculars. They're back on the Falcon," and then somebody had to run all the way back to the Falcon,
Right.
climb down the hatch,
So they
go
forgot the
under
keys,
seat.
and they had to come back like, "Who's got the keys? Chewie?"
Yeah.
They
should have included that, I think, in the movie.
Oh yeah, I would like a scene like that. I want more.
Busy work.
Yes, yeah. Again, as much as I do like this movie, the pace of it can be a little breakneck at times, and I would like some quieter, kind of more. I don't want more scenes of people explaining stuff, and I don't want more scenes of things happening according to the traditional narrative path. But I would love a little more kind of forgetting the keys moments and stuff like that. A lot of stupid things happening, quiet, stupid things.
Mm-hmm.
That's my
That's
my
the
style.
most fun part about life.
Yeah. Well, speaking of my feelings about this movie, it's hard to gauge so far, Crystal, how you feel about this movie. Did you see it in the theater? If so, what were your feelings about it then, and what are your feelings about it now?
I did. I saw it in the theater, and it doesn't matter what kind of Star Wars is it. When I see it in the theater, I'm going to lose my mind, and everything about it is going to be my favorite thing in the world. And then I'll see it again in the theater, and I'll feel the same way. And then some time will go by, and I'll be like, I don't think I liked that. And then I'll watch it again and be like, this was amazing. So I rewatched it, obviously, and there are parts of it that I'm like the conversation part. I was kind of glad that was part of one of my minutes, because even in the theater, I rolled my eyes when Jana and Finn were talking, and they faced each other, and they started mirroring what I said yesterday. Was that yesterday?
Right.
But I like it. Anytime Star Wars can give me more Star Wars, I am a happy camper.
Yeah, it is always fun, for me at least so far. It's always been fun to spend more time in Star Wars.
What were the parts of the film that you especially liked?
Especially liked?
Focusing on the positive.
A positive. I like Rey and Kylo's relationship. I don't really like that they kissed. I get it. Not the biggest fan. But I guess when he's Ben, I really enjoyed that part. I openly wept when Han Solo came, because I didn't know that was going to happen. And that wrecked me for about 45 minutes, because I just kept thinking about it. And when he said, I know, my heart. It's so good. I liked everything they did with Leia. It was really good to see her in any situation, just to have her be her for a little bit longer. I wish they had more Rose in it.
Sure.
I think that she went from a really big part to a very little part, and I think that they shouldn't listen to internet trolls, and they should continue with characters that should be in the movie, and that kind of bummed me out. And I feel like J.J. Abrams didn't quite watch. Nope. Now I'm getting into negative things when I have majority of positives. So I think my negative things are things that I wish that I could have seen more of certain characters.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, along those lines, you said that you like the Leia stuff, and I agree they did. It was probably as about a good a job as they could have, given what they had.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll ask you a question that I've asked one or two other guests and kind of broke their brain. Because I'm trying to break your brain. If they looked at it, if they went and they were like, you know what, in order for this movie to work, we need more. We don't have enough Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia stuff to do what we need to do for this storyline. So in order to do it correctly, we need more stuff. Would you prefer that they went and CGI Leia or recast the part?
I would hope they didn't make the movie. I choose death.
Right.
I that's like the worst would you rather I've ever heard in my life.
So you want one of each now.
You're like, I'll slide down the slide with the razor blades or something. Wasn't that an option?
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. That's what I want. Yeah. Recasting How Dare You. CGI, I don't. The only person that looked
recasting How Dare You, I don't think. You think Carrie Fisher would care?
I don't think she'd care. I care.
Yeah, so
it's not about her. It's about me. Yeah. I don't know. That's just such a big part of my history and what Star Wars is to me that I don't know if I would like someone else doing. Carrie Fisher wouldn't care at all, but I do. I care a lot. And I think the only character that looked good all digital was Grand Moff Tarkin, and that's because he looked like an alien anyway. But I don't think that I'd want either. Like I said, I choose death. I would rather myself die than have either of those options.
That's commitment.
Yeah.
So getting back to Rose for a second, they said that J.J. Abrams talked with the other guy who just did this, the other one, Rian Johnson.
Yeah.
About, the story and stuff like that. Do you think at any point there was plans for Rose that they scrapped? That they were, kind of a la the way like Jar Jar was supposed to have a bigger part or whoever, and then they're just like, that was not received well amongst very vocal people, so we're going to cut it down. But I wonder if there was ever any, what if any plan was, was there going to be a relationship between her and Finn or anything like that? Do you know anything? Anyone hear anything on the rumor mill?
From what I understand, a lot of her stuff was tied closely to Leia. That's why she stayed behind with Leia and had a lot. So when Leia's part was going to be bigger, when Carrie Fisher was going to be in it, then her part was greater.
So you think that was always part of the plan? It wasn't that she was going to be with the gang, and then they were like, "Oh, let's just have her hang out with Leia back at the base and not."
Yeah, no, that was part of her. Her arc was to be on the base, kind of hanging out, doing stuff, but she had a lot more to do when they had more Carrie Fisher.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I guess the plot would have to be different because they didn't really, do much.
Anyway, it is sad. All across the board, it's sad. It's sad that we lost Carrie Fisher, and it's sad that we therefore were robbed of more Rose Tico.
But if Rose was in it more, we wouldn't have had Zori Bliss or Janna. Maybe they wouldn't have made the cut. So
possibly
the give and take.
Right.
Well, speaking of give and take and things ending, luckily we're not ending the show. We will have more episodes of the show. Does anybody have anything specific to this minute? Or, Crystal, can you come back tomorrow?
I can definitely come back tomorrow. And I love the music in this minute.
Music. Well, in the meantime, if you are listening to this, hey, you miss Rose Tico too? Why not go get our Rose Tico Taze Crazy shirt? Remember, we had a goofy idea for a Rose Tico video game that then got translated into a shirt, and it's available at StarWarsMinute.com/merch, MERCH. Go check that out. You can wear Rose Tico around with you all the time, and then you'll feel better. And we'll feel better seeing you back here tomorrow on a brand new Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.